because with a lot of people, they take time off and then they come back and you wonder what they're going to look like. But one of the things that I was very hopeful with you is that you've always been almost a martial artist first and a fighter second. And in that you're always learning and you're always practicing. Like you would always take time in between camps and you would, do jiu-jitsu in Brazil, or you would be constantly practicing your Muay Thai. You're always trying to learn and improve your game. And I was thinking when you came back, I was like, if you were saying that you were better than ever, I'm like, man, he might be better than ever. Like you're the one guy that I believed. Because a lot of times guys come back and you're like, man, he's been out of the game a long time. Who knows how hard he's been training? Because a lot of fighters, when they're not in camp, when they're not preparing for a fight, they don't like to train that much because the grind of camp almost wears on. Like, you know how you see a lot of fighters after they retire, they get really fat.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, how could he get fat? Like, I was looking at Maidana the other day. There's a picture of Maidana's Chino Maidana. He's got his Instagram page. He's fat as fuck. He's got a cigar. He's drinking a whiskey. I mean, he just fought Floyd Mayweather a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And he was ripped and they retire and they don't give a fuck anymore. They're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I knew you were still training because I would see like in the Renzo Gracie, the guys who were training with you there, and I knew you were training with Danaher. I knew you were constantly training and you looked good. So I was like,
when I left off, like more than 4 years ago, I knew I wanted to come back because I was not in an happy place. I had a lot of personal problems, and I should have even stopped earlier than after my fight with Hendricks. If I would have stopped earlier, I would have maybe come back earlier as well. I felt like I was like kind of a feeling of a claustrophobic feeling, like I couldn't breathe well, I couldn't sleep well, my mind.
Too much pressure?
Too much pressure, personal problems, so much stuff. A lot of stuff happened to me that it's still too early in my life, and for the respect of some people, I know I couldn't talk about it. One day I will. It's all mixed together. I knew it was a drug issue in the sport. I felt it. I did feel well, and I was trying to perform under those conditions, and it was catching up to me.
Yeah.
And I did it. But the reason why I think I didn't lose the edge is a lot of people, because we do an extreme sport. It's like what we do is kind of a life and death situation. It's not because there's a referee, but the spirit is the same as a gladiator or a person in a war that goes to war. He thinks he's gonna die. It's the same spirit, even though it's not the same thing. We go there in the same spirit that we're ready to give it all. It's such an extreme feeling that once you don't have that in your life kind of become boring. You feel like you're not alive anymore. Yeah. So that's why when people stop, they retired and they try to come back, a lot of the people, they fall into drugs because they want to catch up to that. They want to feel alive again. So they need that sensation that they had previously, but they couldn't get it back unless they do drugs or they do something crazy, extravagant. The thing with me is I knew I was going to come back. And also, I always like to train and keep myself in shape, and I never did drugs. Like I never did hard drugs. I drink. I drink sometimes. For my birthday last Saturday, I went out and I was completely wasted. Okay, it is what it is. I like to deteriorate myself sometimes. I'm not perfect.
Just have a little fun.
Exactly. And what's the goal of doing this if you're not enjoying your life? What's the goal of it?
Right.
People to fight, you say, no, I don't like to fight. And that's another thing I like to talk to you about. People say, why you do that if you don't like to fight? It's like, because I like my lifestyle, that it gives me. But that's why people, I believe, if we come back to what you say, that's why I think people, they have a hard time to come back after so many years because they fall into that trap.
Right.
They need to feel alive, so they find ways it make them feel alive, but it's deteriorate themselves.
Yeah. Drinking.
And I didn't do that. I did not do that. And I would never will, hopefully. It's not my thing,
So when you decided to come back, how far out did you decide? But you took 4 years off.
Yeah.
How many years in were you like, I think I'm ready to come back?
When I see USADA and the drug testing program being implemented, then I saw
A lot of people deflate.
Yes, a lot
Did
of
you feel
people.
vindicated?
Huh?
Like, did you feel vindicated when you saw like some of these people just?
I feel a little bit of a. I mean, it feels bad to wish people bad luck to get some kind of recognition, but that's not what I want to do. I don't wish people bad luck, but if you cheat, man. And a lot of people got caught. And finally, a lot of people in the beginning, including my own friend, they think, like, I was talking to some of my own friend. They say, oh, you're paranoid. You become paranoid. You need to take a break. You're going crazy. Just retire or get out. You know, you're paranoid. Because I was talking about it a long time before Hendricks. And everybody was disregarding me. But now when it happened, a lot of the champion fell. And a lot of the hero in the sport, they got pointed out with the finger as, hey, he's a cheater. So now it became real. So when I saw that happen, it was for me a beginning to start, and now it's time to come back, you know, because I'm a guy of if I said something, you know, that's I'm gonna do it. I don't want to come back when the sport was dirty. That's one of my thing. And so when I decided to come back, I had a big talk with one of my trainer, John Denaire, and Ferraz. They're my two main guys, and they're like my friend, my brother with me. I mean, I'm undefeated with these two guys. You know, they're like, well, I need them when I fight.
That's some serious knowledge between those two men.
And they mix together is crazy. You know, they're two different persons, very different. They both have. They both studied philosophy. They're very interesting people for me to talk with because they have two different mentalities. You know, they see the world different ways. So I like to have both of their expertise. And so John, he told me, he said, listen, he said, you always have three big criticizes when you were fighting. Just never went up of a weight class. You never, people say that you're kind of boring, you're too much cerebral, technical, you don't want to take unnecessary risks, which make the fight boring. And also you don't finish your opponent. You know, that was one of my big criticizes. So I decided to come back and we changed the way I was training because the way you train, it reflects the way you fight. You know, people say, oh, I'm not gonna train too hard. I'm gonna do this in training, but when it's time to fight, I'm gonna step up. There is no step up. You're just gonna do what you did every day, you know. And that's so I decided to change a few things and to correct those three things, and that's what happened. You know, I'm happy it worked out well, but that was my goal. I wanted to come back for something that excited me, something that was different, something that was unique and rare. You know, and I didn't want to come back to do the same thing I was doing before. And that's why I decided to come back.
Well, when you came back, first of all, you fought a very tough guy, right? You fought a big Michael Bisping at 185 pounds. But what was impressive to me is, like, you didn't look like you were gone. Like right away, it felt like you felt right back into the groove again. You didn't look out of place. You didn't look uncomfortable. And you were showing things, especially different things with your kicking and your movement that we hadn't seen from you before. Like you looked like you had improved.
Oh, I was tested in the training. Like even Ferraz, some of the guys, Ferraz went to tell them, like he whispered to them, hey, if you knocked out George in sparring, I'll give you money, or you know, things like that. Yeah, man, it's like he's crazy. Ferraz is crazy. Ferraz is my worst enemy in training. Sometimes, you know, he tell people, it's like, hey, if you beat Jay, if you hurt George, I'm gonna glorify you. You know, I'm gonna.
Wow.
I'm going to talk about you, and, you know, we're going to be happy.
That's the opposite of what a lot of people think a training camp should be for a champion.
It depends what kind of, you know, we don't train like this every day, but for my hard sparring, when I'm training for a fight, I have 2 days. For my last training camp, I had 2 days that it was like hard sparring. We called it shoot box fighting, which we put the big gloves, the shin pad, and his feet to floor. Once we touch the floor, we stop and we go back up. And that was the area of expertise where Bisping was the most competent, the striking department. Mm-hmm. He's good on the floor, so I was bringing in a lot of good guys for sparring with me in that particular training. It's hard to find someone that is exactly like the guy you're gonna fight, but you can find a guy that does things better than him in a particular area. You know, I cannot find a replica of Michael Bisping who's complete as much as Michael Bisping, but I can find a guy, for example, I had a guy coming from Spain. His name is Caesar. He's a K1 fighter, and he's a big guy. He's like 205 pounds, and he's big, and he's very, very good kickboxer. So I had him during my training camp. I flew him from Spain. I had a different bunch of guys that I was training with, and all these guys that I was training with, they are not like Michael Bisping, but in a certain area that I was training with them, it could be grappling or shoot box or a different area. They could be just as good or maybe better than Michael Bisping. So that's how I do my training camp.
Yeah, you know, I remember when you brought, how do you say his last name? Garbowsky?
Jean-Charles Garbowsky.
Yeah.
What a character.
What a character indeed. When you brought him to work with you on The Ultimate Fighter, and he would be partying all night, drunk, and show up at the gym the next day and still fuck everybody up.
Yeah.
And did that guy influence your idea about just being more relaxed in training and just not worrying about it as much?
Yeah, but he's a different, like it's a total different extreme, you know,
Yeah.
like I don't believe in that extreme. But Jean-Charles, yeah, I remember the producer of the show, The Ultimate Fighter, when he was supposed to stay 1 week, and when he was about to stay, the producer was telling me, "Hey, can we keep him for the rest of the show?" I'm like, because it was good TV, you know.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna ask him, and in the same time, like a lot of the people on my team, they were like, "Man, okay, that's enough now. We got what we need." And I was like, "Yeah, I like him, but he's kind of I need to kind of babysit him in the same time." But
Yeah.
The knowledge that this guy had and he gave us was just a big edge, you know. And but yeah, Jean-Charles is a different extreme, Joe. I think there is a center line that you need to keep, you know. That's what I believe. I believe in life, it's not white, it's not black, it's always gray.
Right.
There's middle zone for everything, I believe.
Yeah.